Hey everyone, this week I wanted to do a video on how I take photographs on my blog. This might come in handy if you've got a blog yourself, or if you're new to photography, or even if you're just curious as to how I do it. If you didn't know I had a blog, it's alicered.co.uk. I do a mix of lifestyle, photography and beauty content. You should definitely check it out. In this video I'm going to be walking you through the 3 most common types of photographs that I take for my blog, which are selfies, product photographs and outdoor shots. I'll quickly go through my equipment as well because I know that some of you will be quite curious about that. So I use a Canon 700D, which is a DSLR that has a flip out screen. That's also what I film my YouTube videos on as well. Now most of the time I use this lens here. This is the 50mm f1.8 lens. This is a really nice, very versatile lens for doing pictures of people or product shots, and because it has the wide aperture, that's what gets the really nice background blur on a lot of my photographs. If you're a bit confused about apertures, don't worry, I do have a blog post on manual settings on cameras and what all of that stuff means, so if you're a bit overwhelmed by things like ISO and shutter speed, go and have a read of that. The other lens that I use quite a lot is the one that I'm using right now to film this. That's the 40mm f2.8 lens. It's a little bit wider so I can get more in the frame. It also focuses much closer to subjects than the 50mm lens as well. I also have the kit lens as well that came with the camera, so this is an 18 to 55mm lens. I don't use this a lot for photography, but I do have it hanging around just in case I need to do any wide angle photographs. I don't use a flash at all when I take photographs, I only use natural daylight. I do have 2 softbox lights, which I'm using right now as I'm filming this just because it's got a bit darker now, but when I'm doing photography I try to only use daylight whenever possible. I also shoot on RAW mode, which just means that it will keep as much of the information in the image as possible. That makes it easier to edit afterwards. Just as personal preference, I tend to only shoot on neutral or faithful mode. I like my colours to be quite flat, and then I add all the contrast and all the colours back in the image when I'm editing it afterwards. That's just my working style. Obviously everyone is different, and I do think it's fairly important when taking photographs that you focus more on having an individual style than having a perfect image. By the way, there's no such thing as a perfect image. So that's all the equipment and all the settings. Now we're just gonna rewind back to a little bit earlier in the day when I was taking some pictures, and I'm gonna walk you through what I'm doing. So the first thing that I'm doing is a selfie. For this particular one I was reviewing an eyeshadow palette and a mascara, so I really wanted to make sure that people were going to be able to see how my eyes looked in this picture. So I had my camera on a tripod right in front of my window so that I could get some really nice, flattering, natural light. As you can see, I'm stood quite close to the camera for this, and I find that that's quite important when you're reviewing makeup. It just helps people see it a lot easier. You can also see that I'm looking down. That's just because I've got hooded eyes. Now you can see that I'm moving to the left quite a lot while I'm doing this. That's because my DSLR has a flip out screen on it. So I'm using that flip out screen to see exactly where I am in the frame. I'm making sure that it all looks right. And I'm also making sure that the eye that is closest to the lens is in focus. Now to do this, I'm actually stood close enough to the camera that I can focus the camera myself, but I also have a remote, which is what I use most of the time when I'm doing selfies. And after that, it's just a simple case of trial and error, just taking as many photos as required until I get one that I'm happy with. So the next thing that I'm doing is the product shot. As you can see, most of the work that goes into images like this is just moving things around, whether that be the camera, the background props, the products themselves. It's just moving things around and making sure that I'm completely happy with the layout. Now these are my real life products. They're things that I use on a daily basis, and therefore they are a little bit grubby. So I make them look a bit tidier just by taking the lids off, and I also clean the products with a cleansing wipe as well. That's a really easy way to just make them look a little bit neater for the camera. Now I don't like my images too neat myself. I do tend to move things around so that it looks a little bit effortless, even though quite a lot of effort has actually gone into it. I think it's very important that your photographs are recognisable, and for me, a lot of people recognise my pictures because they recognise my desk. My desk is in the background in a lot of my videos, and it's also in a lot of my photographs as well. I'd say that product shots like these make up about 80 or 90% of the images that I need to do for my website, so I tend to shoot these in bulk. So while I had the camera out, I also shot this photograph of a book, and you can see that this one is a flat lay image where I'm pointing the camera down instead of looking directly at something. For these I don't tend to use a tripod, I do it handheld. It's just easier to get a better angle that way, and again, most of it is just about moving around the book itself and the background props until I get something that I like. So that's how I take photographs when I'm doing a blog post on a particular product, but sometimes I like to write about my feelings or things that are going on in my life, so that tends to be when I use outdoor shots. Now, I don't actually go out and take shots specifically for these blog posts. I take pictures quite a lot in my everyday life. I tend to have at least one camera with me at all times. So as a result, I have about 3 hard drives worth just full of all kinds of snapshots. And when I have a blog post that's about things that are going on with me, I tend to just go through all the photographs that I already have. So I'm going to just go through some pictures on Adobe Bridge now, and just see if there's anything that will suit a particular article that I'm writing at the moment, which is called The Importance of Taking Time Off. So it will be good if I've got any travel pictures, anything kind of linked to relaxation and getting away from work. I found a nice one that I took when I was walking the dog the other day. I took that with my Sony RX100, which is this camera here. This is the camera that I take out and about with me 90% of the time. It's very reliable, takes excellent quality images, but more importantly it's very quick, so you can see that I've just taken a picture that fast. I don't have to wait around. So that's a fairly nice image, I suppose, but I don't know if it's the absolute perfect one for this post. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go through my portfolio on my hard drive, and I'm just going to have a look through my travel photographs and just see if there's a nice one of like a countryside or something. I think that might work quite well for this. Okay, so I've actually found quite a few that I think could work really well for this. So there's one of a train in the middle of a track. I think that one was taken in Hope a few years ago. There's another one from Hope as well. That's a really nice sunset image of the countryside. I think that would work really nicely. So I think I'm most likely going to use one of the images from the countryside from my travel portfolio for this particular post. Sometimes it takes a while to find a good one, but I think it works really nicely on the blog as a whole to just kind of break up the product shot after selfie after product shot with something completely different. I think it just adds a nice bit of variety, but it's still my personal style, obviously, because I took the picture. I hope that you guys found this video helpful or inspiring. I'm going to be doing a lot more photography videos on my channel this year, so give this video a like if you're excited for that. If I've missed out anything or if you have a question for me, just leave it in the comments below and I'll get back to you. Subscribe to this channel for new videos every Friday at 6 PM. If you want to follow my blog, you can do that on Blog Lovin'. You can also follow me on Twitter. I always tweet about my latest blog posts and videos, so that's a really easy way to keep up. I'll see you guys next week. Bye!